good evening to everyone present here, and welcome back to the third day of the 5-day workshop, virtual workshop on research writing, editing, and publishing. So we are having three speakers today, and the first one is going to be Dr. K. Sasi Rekha, Assistant Professor of English, the American College, Madurai, Tamil Nadu, India. She has completed her PhD from the Madurai Kamaraj University, and she has an experience of 20 years in teaching line. She has also published nearly 10 journals, and she has attended and organized many seminars, workshops, and conferences. We are very happy to have you among us, ma'am. The session is yours.
Many thanks for the brief introduction. And here I'm going to start the session straight away due to the timings and other practical constraints are there. So yesterday and day before yesterday, you would have attended the other speaker sessions also. This session is going to be something very basics, but though I name it as a very basics, it plays a very vital role. That's why the topic has been chosen, and my area of focus today is how to frame the working title, and I will just proceed up to abstract writing. This is what my plan for today's session, and I believe you are getting my screen. Is my screen visible to the participant? Yes. So the broad spectrum of this virtual conference by Lavender Academy is Literary Club is research writing, editing, and publishing. And under that, my focus would be on nuances of research writing. Though I named it as a nuances of research writing, as I said earlier, I'm not just going to talk about all the elements included in research writing. I'm just going to focus the basics. One is how we have to frame a working title. The other one is how we have to go up to abstract writing. When I say working title, please remember what are the things comes to your mind. And I believe the participants are from different stream. Though I belong to Department of English, I kept in mind about the participants from different major and different stream. So it is going to be useful for both humanities and people from science background. Say the title is the prime element of any of our research writing. So it shouldn't be any ambiguity. And at the same time, please remember, our title would be a data, there would be a database to check whether the title is already has been registered or somewhere it has been, or how many researchers has been taken place in the same or similar title. So it is not manual checking, it is again a software checking, and the database would also be there always in the system, and we know about cloud computing and other things. So the editors and reviewers, the first thing they would be doing is checking our title to know how new the title is. Yes, and nowadays, once after the advancement of internet, computer, and technology, almost there is a very big research awareness, and all research scholars and students pursuing higher education, they all started writing research articles and other things. But the basic thing which we are not following is, since we are not aware, we are not bothered to take up of the working title. Based on our convenience or based on our comfort zone, we restrict ourselves with what we are familiar with. Nothing wrong in keeping ourselves familiar with the topic known to us, but the title should have some kind of recentness and also a newness. Remember, It is not manual checking. It is network based checking. So across our competition is not with the fellow research writers, it is global. Hence it is global. We have to be many times careful while framing the title itself. So the first tip I would like to give you for framing the title is bring your research area and research proposal itself in the title, is because you would have a kind of confusion. We know title, what is that called? Working title. It is very simple. Based on your domain, you would have fixed a research area that should definitely brought in the title itself, and your research design, research proposal, or how you're going to carry out the entire research. Or else if it is a science based candidates, you would have some specific experiments in your mind that has to be brought in the title itself, research area and research proposal. And for example, I have given my own PhD title. It is redesigning the Anna University Technical English course through select literary materials and attempt. See, as I said, I have done justification for this research area and research proposal. My research area is redesigning technical English course, and it is my research proposal is actually, which means the research designers, I would like to introduce my own kind of literary materials. This is what we mean by working title. See, many would have done research writing or researchers on syllabus redesign. How yours is advanced, or what is your area of scope, or what is the newness you brought in your title. And remember, there is an option for us to change the title also. But when it is a very long project like PhD or MPhil has been scrapped. So PhD, we got the advantage of changing the title in the middle or even before submission. But when it is a paper, when it is a journal publishing, the publication or article publication, we don't have the second, third choices. I believe you would have experienced it. Once after getting comments from reviewers, we would be carrying out only the comments and reviews specified inside the paper. They sometimes they would ask us to rephrase the title also. When your paper is asked to start rephrasing the title, then you please remember, actually that is inside in our control. Title framing is in our control. If we follow these things, it is very simple for us to keep the title intact. Fine. Maybe you could, the research scholars whoever has started writing and other things, one or two can share your title which comes to your memory immediately. Based on that, we will see whether it is comprising both these elements, research area and research proposal. Shall we quickly, would you like to share one or two titles? Is someone interested in sharing the title, even in a chat box at least? Fine. So in that case, it doesn't matter. But please remember, these are the things which you have to keep in your mind when you are framing the title, working title. And now we just move on to the next slide, which before framing the title, there is a groundwork for any research. So now we are clear that we have to go for a title with newness, and the title should be very recent, and it should cover my research area, and of course it should talk about my research design, everything. This is common for humanities as well as for science background candidates also. Now, see, always the writing, the very basic thing, another basic guideline is any writing would start from reading only. So once after deciding your research area, see, it's a very wider spectrum. And see, for example, if you have taken artificial intelligence as your research domain, then you would be knowing how it is a very broad spectrum. So you need not read whatever you come across under artificial intelligence. You always, as a researcher, you should know how to narrow down your scope towards your research area. So accordingly, you can pick out reading materials also. It serves double purpose. One is when you start reading a very specific research article based on your domain, you will get more research ideas, or else you will be surprised that how many researchers have done the same kind of experiment with the different software or different research tools, this and that. So for that matters, the first and foremost thing is reading. It is to get a research idea. And another important component of any research writing is review of literature. So when you start reading before your research writing, you will be benefited in two ways. One is you will get new research ideas, or sometimes your research inputs will further be strengthened with other researchers' insight, and that would be used for writing your review of literature. And the second tip which I would like to share before starting your research writing is, please remember to have a personalized research timeline. Nowadays it's very simple to download quality articles or articles matters. So we would be simply downloading many papers. It would be accumulated in different places in any of our devices. It could be our Android, or else it could be our laptop or desktop. In our workspace, we would have downloaded so many papers, but it would be untouched. What is the use of it? At least during your research period, we should develop a kind of research timeline that would really help us. This planner should be a kind of achievable planner. Another important thing. Otherwise, actually, it's a stressful period also. And nowadays, many of us are not having the privilege to be a full-time research scholars. So we would be working, or we would be doing some other freelancing work, or else even multitasking, and we would be taking up this research work also. So we have, based on our lifestyle, based on our regular routine, there should be something called achievable scheduling, and we have to follow that. See, for example, if you plan to write a research article, a minimum it would be taking a month period. So before that, at least spend a week period for reading alone. That would be real. This step-by-step procedure will make our research writing as a qualitative one, and it would make our writing different from others also. When you read so many things, as I said earlier, you would come across technical vocabulary, technical jargons also. Naturally, that technical vocabs and the technical jargons would be very handy when you start writing it. So have a simple research timeline. So 1 week time for reading. So reading, again, you can prepare a kind of how many you're going to read. So that also you can decide. 4 papers or 5 papers. In a day, a paper. Yes, or in a day, this chapter of this book. So accordingly, you can prepare a simple scheduling. And please remember, it has to be without any compromise. We are expected to follow it, at least till we complete the final draft of our research writing. All right. Then, as we all know, naturally there is going to be a drafting part. Drafting it's very simple, taking notes. And while taking notes, instead of using the same kind of words or repeat the same kind of sentence from the websites or from the sources what you're reading, please bring it in your own language. See, That, as I said already, has many research benefits. So one thing is, that is the very simplest way for you to get rid of plagiarism. Yes, when you draft down and when you write on your own, 80% you are avoiding plagiarism. And here, let me give you a very small kind of research tip. When it is plagiarism, nowadays there are many softwares, and in a sentence, if you repeat more than 5 words, which includes grammatical elements like prepositions, articles, the tenses and everything, it is counted. It is counted. Even punctuation marks also, people say, when it comes for high paid plagiarism softwares. So if there is a sentence and exactly 5 words, or which includes a punctuation, has been reused in your writing, it is going to be a plagiarist content. So when you draft it and rewrite it in your language using the technical words in a different part of the sentence, will avoid plagiarism. So drafting is another important basics for research writing. Then writing and typesetting. See, instead of, actually, it appears maybe for the present generation, why should I write? Always there will be a question like this. See, I know I'm very familiar to work out in computer, so I can typeset all my things. Why should I take the pain of writing using pen and paper? Guys, please remember, when you write, your ideas will get organized. Your ideas will get organized. You can follow kind of coherence. You can check your thought process very well when you are writing also. Yes, and many times when it is typesetting, we all know that gadgets always a kind of magnetic force to take us to different distractions. Yes, very easily there would be a pop-up window saying this notification, that notification. So we would jump into that. To avoid all those things, you first write, then you later, if you feel that this part could be typeset, then the next step could be typesetting. This is what personally I believe. If you feel that there is no distraction, it is more comfortable for you to work in computer, and if you feel that typesetting itself would save your time, go ahead. But the proper procedure to make your writing a better one would be writing, then typesetting. So already I have mentioned, this session is not going to talk about many things. It is going to be concentrated on 2 basic things only. One is title and the other one is how we have to proceed till the abstract. And for working title, I believe now it's very much clear for you. And you maybe I can recollect it again. Our focus would be on 2 components. One is research area and then research proposal. When I say research proposal, it includes research design also. That's it. And then before framing the title, there are several steps that has been conveyed as basics. And now we are just going to see what is this word count when we have to write an abstract. Based on, nowadays we are talking about Web of Science, Scopus indexed, H indexed, then UGC careless journals, everything. And when the publishers, editors, reviewers, straight away they are giving the word count also. And nowadays, sometimes it is online uploadment also. When it is online based, if our submission is online based, if they mention 150, I have seen this and I have experienced it, it will not accept the next word. Again, it includes punctuation also. So stick on to word count. It's a very big challenge. See, writing abstract, it appears to be a very simple task, but it is a very challenging task, because an abstract itself, it is what you're seeing as a movie teaser. See, it should create a kind of curiosity among the readers to read your full length paper. in many journals, before getting the final paper, abstract alone would be published. So while reading the abstract, both the readers, editors should have a kind of curiosity to read the full paper, which means the abstract should have a completeness. So it is not simply a paragraph. It is not simply a paragraph. You have to spend equal amount of time to prepare the abstract as if you are preparing your full-length paper. In the abstract itself, clearly you have to mention your research design. If you are going to use a research tool, that also has to be mentioned over there. And if it is a kind of action research, or if it is a kind of experiment based, then the duration of your research should also be brought inside your abstract. So to put it in a nutshell, abstract should have A to Z kind of details. And another big challenge is word count. Yes, word count, if they simply mention it as around 200 words, 250 words, or if there is no word limit, we have the privilege of writing words as per our convenience. But nowadays, slowly, everything has been becoming a digitalization. So they are not asking us to send papers. Once we write papers, then it would be we've taken a printout and we would submit a hard copy. Nowadays, I don't think people are asking for hard copies. So they are also going with the help of some online platforms and some software. So software, if it is prepared, abstract 150 words, a title 20 words, we have to stick on to that. So we must know how to cut down the words. And here, another important thing is, while writing the abstract, please remember how to use the article and prepositions effectively. These two components, you can have a better focus. The article usage and the prepositions. I have seen when it is not underestimating any stream, but if we happen to read science-based research papers or engineering-based research papers, often we come across redundancy. Redundancy is repetition of prepositions, or else sometimes redundant words and articles as well. So if we focus on how to avoid articles and prepositions, that will help you to stick on to the word count which software is accepting. And then as a part of an abstract, we would be writing listing, then listing in the sense word count. Then consistency plays another important role. And American British spelling also. See, in a place we would be using a kind of capitalization of a particular word. See, for example, if you're, as I mentioned, artificial intelligence as the example, you would have used artificial intelligence, A caps, uppercase, and intelligence, I uppercase. But in the middle of the sentence, again A and I in lowercase. And in the third sentence, or else after 2-3 sentences, again A and I would be in uppercase. See, nowadays we are relaxing so much of language rules as per the convenience of working in the computer. So often we make the first words in the uppercase for readability, or else it gives us kind of reading comfort. So we follow that when we write subheadings, titles, and other things. But there should be consistency. As a research writer, you have the authority to decide whether you are going for uppercasing each and every word, or else is it going to be a running text. Decide that clearly before you start writing it. Then accordingly you stick on to that. Yes, this is what I mean by consistency over here. Then nowadays, again, see our computer and almost online platforms are American based. So if you write something in British spelling, it is going to highlight it as a kind of spelling error. Without a second thought, we would be keep correcting all our other things. But if it goes to a British based or UK based reviewer or editor, you have to, you would get a review, or else you would get a comment that American spelling has been used, or else they would have even won't mention what sort of a correction you are expected. Simply they would make you to review spellings, review spelling in technical vocabulary, review spelling like that. So you can do a little background study whether the journal is from UK based or US based. Accordingly, you can decide the spelling rules also. Yes, and that provision is always there for the research writers. Then, very particularly, if it is a technical research writing, we have to use abbreviations and acronyms a lot. So let's quickly see what is abbreviations and acronyms. Many of us are a little confused and we think that, of course, it is similar. Both are shortened forms, but there is a difference between abbreviations and acronyms. Throughout our research writing, we will be using many abbreviations and acronyms. And we would be using very sparingly, very generously all these abbreviations and acronyms. But the thing is, we won't be following a proper rule which has to be applied towards abbreviation and review, or else sometimes friends would be bringing their papers with the reviews. See, the editor has, the reviewer has asked me to change these things. So if we check that, there would be so much of confusion with abbreviations and acronyms. It's very simple. It's very simple. If you are, I will come to that particular slide little later, once after seeing abbreviations and acronyms. After this quick reference, I'll just show how an abstract has to be. All right. So you just see, both abbreviations and acronyms are shortened form of words. But if you have abbreviated any word, there should be a dot against it. Yes. And doctor, then a dot. You can see, I believe that screen is visible. And is it visible? Is it visible? Are you able to read it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, good. So, see, doctor, DR, then there is a dot over there. The same way, Mr. And I hope how we are all using abbreviations in our regular writing also, in our regular academic formal and informal writing also. See, for example, EG, actually, if you have seen, many people would be using the conventional readers will not be using EG and dot. They would be using E dot, then G dot, because it is two words, two Latin words has been abbreviated over there. And etc. Again, ETC, they will not leave it as such. There would be one full stop and comma. So if it is abbreviated, if it is an abbreviated word, definitely it should have a punctuation mark, full stop over there. Make this language rule imprinted in your mind so that you won't go wrong anywhere if you use this abbreviations. All right. And we customize abbreviations also. There are general list of abbreviations. Along that, for our research convenience, we would also be abbreviating so many words. And it is a clear note. If there is a dot, reviewer, reader, editor will come to know, okay, these are all abbreviated words. And in a glossary or else in a note, we can mention the list of abbreviations and acronyms used. If you check any research article, or else a thesis, or else even synopsis, you would come across a page or a section of your paper would have a list of abbreviations and acronyms. So please understand, though it appears like a very simple kind of language part, it has a vital role to play in that. Then, what is acronyms? See, we will be getting a string of words. The very known to us is USA, but it is, when we expand it, it is United States of America. See, in the string of word, if the first alphabet has been taken and if I used it as another word, that is called acronym. Yes, I have given two examples. One is scuba. See, there, you can check the case. It is in lower case. A self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. Usually it could be used as a verb also, scuba diving, like that. So remember, it could be used in using the uppercase or else in a lowercase. If it is verb, if it is used as a kind of verb, then this way. And sometimes it will be used as a noun. Acronyms are used as a noun. In that case, ATM, SIM, NASA, UNICEF, then these are the words coming to my mind. If you have your own list, you can check it very quickly in your mind itself. You will come across USSR. Many things where the alphabets would be in uppercase only. If you make a quick classification and quick analysis in your mind, you will come to know almost whatever has been abbreviated and used as a noun would have uppercase, and if it is used as a kind of verb, it would not have uppercase. This is what I wanted to mention about acronyms and abbreviations. And why do we use acronyms as part of our research writing? So it is not necessary for me to repeat the same set of words and again. So first time when you use a word, a string of words, first time I'm telling in your research article, the string of words has to be used as it is. Okay. The word which comes to my mind very immediately is NASA. Okay. So first time, could someone tell me the abbreviation of it? NASA, laser, UNICEF. Yes, those words, when you use it, use the complete spelling in the beginning of your research writing. The complete spelling. Yes, if it is United States of America, within brackets, you can mention USA for the first time. Then in the following sentences, you need not write the United States of America. You can simply start using USA. Like that. As I said, abbreviations could be customized based on your domain, based on your research area. Same way, acronyms could also be personalized, customized as per your scope of your research. These two things will sharpen and tighten your word counts. Using abbreviations, using acronyms will help you to it would add readability. And another thing is, if there is a loose structure in your writing, if there is a repetitive ideas, or the readability would be increased. And another thing is, the loose structures of the sentences would be tightened when we use acronyms and abbreviations appropriately throughout our research writing. And as this is one of my abstract, I do not know, maybe shall I just zoom it for the reading convenience? Is it okay now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Is it better now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. See, Usefulness and popularity of webinars during international disaster with reference to corona pandemic, a comprehensive study. The title, maybe you could have immediately connected to what we have mentioned earlier. One is research area and the other one is research proposal. It has been conveyed. And few journals, they ask you to use only upper cases for title. You see the specifications also. Even if whether it is a conference paper or a straight journal paper, there is going to be a guidelines for the writers, research writers. So you can have a printout of that researchers guidelines, and accordingly you can go ahead with your work. In few for a few forums, they would recommend you, they would guide you to use upper cases only. So this is one such sample for that. But personally, if you use uppercase continuously, it will actually, it won't be, you have the reader friendliness. Title, it is okay. You just imagine if you have to have a running sentence with the uppercase, definitely it won't be reader friendliness. So title, this is okay. And check the guidelines given. Nowadays, every forum uploads the writing guidelines also. Yes, so without checking the writing guidelines, even if they are not mentioning about the writing guidelines, if you ask, then the people would be telling, have 1.5 space, use only Times New Roman, follow APA format alone, or if it is engineering, it should be IEEE format. Then MLA, it's very specific for literature students, and APA, that is for English for language teaching, ELT. So like that, we have formats, and if you read the guidelines, you will come across which edition we are expected to follow. 9th edition or 10th edition, sometimes latest edition, sometimes previous editions also. So all those instructions would be helpful, and without knowing that, there is no meaning in proceeding the research article. See, by the middle of your research writing, or else once after submitting, if the reviewer says you haven't followed the cited work, the work cited, the format is not as per the recommendation from the guidelines, it's a very simple and a controllable mistake. Since you are reluctant, you have committed that. That's what I mean by certain mistakes are controllable. These are all controllable research mistakes, spelling, punctuation, using abbreviations, acronyms, and the case difference, case sensitiveness. These are all controllable mistakes. When we have these things very strong in our mind, we will not commit such mistakes, and we will not get such comments from the reviewer. Fine. And the abstract, actually, it goes this way. You would have been reading it. So COVID-19 is a kind of, is it a kind of acronym or else an abbreviation? COVID-19, is it an abbreviation or an acronym? It is actually a kind of acronym. I couldn't give you the string of words immediately, but it is about the coronavirus and other thing. Everybody knows that, but very sorry, I couldn't give you the string of words, and the existence is the year 2019, so we are using it as COVID-19. See, I told you the abstract should have the completeness. So I don't mind reading and briefing a few details while reading this. It is always better to begin this paper, this study, the study, okay? Let it be like this. So the study in detail presents the usefulness of webinars among academicians in a global context. See, webinars were very popular, not just with academicians. Almost with every profession. But my research is towards academicians, so it has been brought in the first sentence itself. This is what I mean by how I narrow down my research area in a global context during COVID-19. See, this is not something regional or geographical, it was global. So that has also been specified in the first sentence itself. And I'm not going to talk about the disadvantages. Simply the focus would be on usefulness to academicians alone. Then the intervention involved is the lockdown management and utility of webinars. The webinar is being accepted throughout the world for various types of teaching learning settings as global link communication tool. Yes, almost. If you all remember, either we would have attended classes, online classes, or otherwise we would have attended or taught online in online classes. So in both the way, webinar was served as a kind of a platform. It is actually a video conferencing call to get connected with the teacher and student. So it was a global link communication tool. So there is a quick reference for what is webinar is actually. Though it's been widely used, it has gained momentum because of worldwide quarantine and lockdown. So webinar or video conferencing is not a new concept, but it has become so popular and familiar and widely used because of quarantine and lockdown only. Hence, the paper surveys the diverse role of the webinar during the global disaster period concerning the epidemic of coronavirus. The prime, say, now I have used the C in capital letters, uppercase. So remember where to use capital letters also. Though we know that, yes, and the proper noun, it is this we have learned. Almost all the language rules are known to us. The thing is, we don't apply. Remember to apply it. The prime aim of the webinar is to connect with a large group audience, which emerged as a user-friendly communicative function. Thus, this research paper accounts for the researchers' work-related webinar experience, teaching and learning, and the strategies adopted for the teaching learning process. The study circumscribes to the webinars attended by the researchers during the national lockdown in India. So I have mentioned, though it is a global kind of thing, the research area has been limited to India itself. Okay, so I would not have collected data outside India. It has my sample would be, or else my research area is within India, not outside India. This is what we mean by research area. Further, the study attempts an in-depth study of the following objectives. So what is the objective of my paper? The usefulness of webinar during the national lockdown, India for academic and career enhancement. We used webinar in two ways. One, teachers might be used, or else other professions also would have used it for career enhancement, otherwise for learning purpose only. And the role of webinar and its significance in the field of education. Sampling, data collection and interpretation of data analysis through questionnaire, opinions, interviews, surveys, etc. These are all my research tools. So what is the tool accepted? Research tool experimented. What is my research design? Has to be brought inside the abstract itself. So there won't be any ambiguity in your abstract. Then technical and non-technical difficulties faced by participant and the host while hosting the webinar. See, another thing is, always we shouldn't focus, though my topic is about usefulness, there should be a limitation of a study also. That also has to be brought in your research area. So I should not take side. Being a research writer, we are not supposed to sideline our ideas, and we are not expected to be biased towards our topic. Since it is my topic, I should not get personally connected with it. I should talk about limitation of my study also. So definitely there would be a kind of disadvantages that also has to be discussed in the paper. So now it is very clear. The abstract has given the complete idea about the the full length paper. So the research tools are questionnaire, opinions, interview, surveys, etc. Actually speaking, etc. is not accepted in a kind of academic forum. I should specific with what is my tool. Since I belong to a language platform. My domain is a language platform. I could have used etc. as a kind of big, which means sometimes informal talking would also be a data collection for me. Yes, and a paper clipping which I come across, or a TV news, or else a breaking news would have served as a kind of data for me. So I have the privilege of using etc. But you please double check when you use etc. because you are expected to mention the names of all the research tools, whatever you have used over there. Sorry. Then keywords, you could have checked the keywords. Another important thing about the abstract is the keyword. Keyword is my full length paper would be using repetitive words. So that I have to pick it out and I have to name it as keywords. So throughout my paper, these four are the words often used. So webinar, teaching, learning, pandemic, and lockdown. Hence, it has been mentioned as keyword. Without keywords, please don't have the habit of writing your abstract also. All right. And I believe this is what I said my session focus. One is title and then till abstract. So by providing an example which has been prepared by me, I just like to end up the session with abstract writing, and I'm just waiting for to answer your queries. I believe I can stop sharing my screen. Shall I stop sharing my screen and shall I take up your questions based on the session? Based on the session engagement, definitely you would have a few questions or else doubts to be clarified. Feel free to ask that. Or shall we allow them to have their queries in the chat box? Admins, do we have that provision?
The participants can unmute themselves and ask their queries.
Chat box is not working.
Achna ma'am, good evening.
Good evening. But chat box is not working, ma'am.
Could you straight away ask me the question, ma'am? Maybe I can try to answer you.
Okay, ma'am. I will try. I have a question.
Please, ma'am.
How to write abstract, impressive abstract, ma'am? I don't know. I don't know how to write impressive abstract. Which topic, which keywords or which words we have to use? We should use. When we write abstract, suggest any impressive words or suggest any, how can I impress myself?
Archana ma'am, I'm just trying to understand your question.
Yes.
And accordingly, I'm going to give an answer. If
Yes,
it is
ma'am.
not convincing, if my guess is wrong, please correct me.
Okay, ma'am.
You are asking me how to take impressive words in a working title. That's what you wanted to ask.
Yes,
Am I right?
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. See, actually, there is no ready-made impressive words. Yes, if you
Yes.
based on your research area, yes, and based on your research space, you have the liberty of choosing keywords. Yes,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
if it is a creative writing, we can think of, or else we can bother about impressive words or a catchy expression. Now
Yes,
we are doing a kind of very formal academic writing. There is no business for impressiveness over there. Remember, you should have a research recentness.
yes,
It
ma'am.
need not have impressiveness.
Ji, ma'am.
Yes. So maybe, but still, if you Google it based on your title, you would get at least a recommendation of words to be used in your title, or else in side headings and other things. That is the way you can narrow down your search.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
I
you,
hope
ma'am.
I answer your question.
Thank
Yes,
you,
yes.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.